Here.
Here. Ms. Schilling. Here. Mayor Anderson.
Present.
Mr. Magner.
Here.
Ms. Schulist.
Here.
Mr. Callie. Mr. McDonald.
Here.
Mr. Pape.
Thank you. If you will, please join me for tonight's prayer and pledge. Lord, we especially thank you for our community, our country, and our freedoms. I ask for your guidance and wisdom, and I appreciate your assistance with tonight's meeting. I thank you. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we'll have approval of the agenda. May I entertain a motion?
Move for approval?
Anderson,
Second.
Schulist. Ms. Howe, would you please call the vote?
Mayor Anderson.
Aye.
Ms. Schulist.
Aye.
Mr. King.
Aye.
Ms. Williams.
Aye.
Ms. Schilling.
Aye.
Mr. Magner.
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Agenda is approved. Next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. Ms. Howe, do we have any citizens registered?
Yes, we have one. Ms. Ellen Brogan.
Ms. Brogan? Good evening. Would you please just state your name and address for the record? And we just ask for about a 3-minute limit, if you don't mind, please.
Eileen Brogan, 7106 Brush Creek Road South, Fairview, Tennessee. And I'm on the board of directors of the Friends of Bowie Nature Park, and I'm speaking on their behalf. On the agenda tonight is a revisiting of plans for Bowie Meadows, a development that is currently under construction adjacent to Bowie Nature Park and to the Cox Run subdivision, among others. Please, as the Planning Commission, carefully scrutinize the new plan and give the public a chance to weigh in. Let's make sure the new plan is an improvement or at least doesn't make things worse. To illustrate the importance of this issue, I'd like to review some of the history of the current plan, which was negotiated over a period of nearly 2 years between members of the community and the former landowners/developers. Through many meetings and a court proceeding, the plan first proposed by the previous owners was changed to make it more acceptable to the community. The current plan is far from perfect in the eyes of the community advocates who did the research and hired the attorney and went to the meetings. It was much more developer-friendly than community-friendly. Here are some of the features that are less favored by the community. One, most lots are much smaller than the half-acre lots in the adjacent Cox Run subdivision. Two, a stepped sanitation system, which is unsightly and could fail. Three, most traffic would go through Cox Run subdivision, which is ill-prepared to handle it. And four, stormwater runoff, which was the topic of the court proceeding. Right now, muddy water is running off the Bowie Meadows property into the Cox Run subdivision and into Bowie Park, bringing siltation that is polluting Lake Bird. It looks like cafe latte, even when it hasn't been raining recently. However, the current plan is much better than the one that the developer first proposed. Here are some of the improvements the developer granted in response to public feedback. They reduced the number of lots, 50-foot buffer along the border with Bowie Park, a road running parallel to the border of Bowie Park outside the 50-foot buffer, which will channel stormwater into holding ponds to mitigate runoff. In tonight's Planning Commission packet, we can see that the proposed plan revision does not increase the number of lots, nor decrease the amount of green space, which is good. However, it says that the Waynes Lane entrance would be scrapped, which means even more traffic through Cox Run subdivision. The additional retention ponds might mitigate the current runoff problem, but without seeing maps, it's impossible to even speculate. So please allow public access to this information and give them a chance to weigh in on this proposed change before you make recommendations to the BOC. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brogan. Next item is approval of tonight's minutes. May I entertain a motion?
Motion to approve?
Anderson? Do I have a second? Second. Williams? Ms. Howe, would you please call the vote?
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Ms. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. King,
Abstain.
Ms. Schilling,
Aye.
Mr. Magner,
Aye.
Ms. Shulis,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Minutes have been approved for tonight. We have no items of old business, so we'll move into new business, starting with item number 1, PC resolution, PC 14-25. This is an annexation of 7330 Taylor Road. This is a 3.24 acre, map 42, parcel 77.06, property owner Sheila Taylor. We will first start with staff comments.
Good evening, Board. Sheila Taylor, owner of the property, has submitted to the City of Fairview an annexation request for the entire parcel located at 7330 Taylor Road, which is on the west side of Taylor Road, north of Flat Rock Court. The parcel is designated as tax map 042, parcel 077.06. The property contains 3.24 acres and is currently zoned RP5, Rural Preservation 5, within Williamson County. The entirety of the property is located within the urban growth boundary of the City of Fairview. Additionally, the parcel is contiguous to the current Fairview municipal boundaries, which are located to the south at 7338 Taylor Road. Parcels located to the north and east are located within Williamson County and zoned Rural Preservation 5. The properties to the south and west are located within the municipal boundaries of Fairview and are zoned RS 40. The property at 7330 Taylor Road was not provided with a future land use classification within the Fairview Forward 2040 plan due to the property not being within the Fairview urban growth boundary at the time of the 2040 plan was created. A recent expansion of the Fairview urban growth boundary includes the property at 7330 Taylor Road. At this time, a future land use classification has not been assigned to the property. Staff recommends the Planning Commission provide a recommendation to the Fairview Board of Commissioners to approve this request to annex the entirety of the property located at 7330 Taylor Road as indicated on the attached map, with the following conditions of approval included in the resolution PC 1425. This annexation request will be placed on Thursday, May 1st, Board of Commissioners meeting agenda for consideration, with the potential for the public hearing and second reading being held on Thursday, June 5th at the Board of Commissioners meeting.
Thank you, Ethan. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We do have a representative tonight as well of the project to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. So we have McDonald and Williams. Would the applicant representing this item feel free to step forward if you wish to make any comment? Okay. Yes, ma'am. If you would just state your name and address.
Sheila Taylor.
Sheila Taylor, thank you, ma'am. Anything you wish to add?
Oh, it's
for-
just, yeah, in case the neighbors are worrying, I figured it was just like an acre partitioned off for options for me, but I still see it as a future home place for somebody at some point, but I have a plan.
Okay, all right. Thank you, ma'am. I will open it up for comments, questions from the Planning Commission.
Chair, you want to
Ms. Williams?
change your,
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Comments, other comments, questions from the Planning Commission? Okay, Ms. Williams, would you please call the vote?
Marissa.
Yes, I'm going to get this. I'm going to get this right. Ms. Howe, would you please call the vote? Yes, it was Anderson, McDonald and Anderson.
Mr. McDonald,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. King,
Aye.
Ms. Williams,
aye.
Ms. Schilling,
Aye.
Mr. Magner,
Aye.
Ms. Shulis.
Aye.
Motion to approve annexation has been passed, and this recommendation will go on to the Board of Commissioners. Moving on to item number 2, which is PC 15-25. This is rezoning of 7391 Crow Cut Road. 19.96 acres, map 46, parcel 16.03. Current zoning is RS40. Requested zoning district is R20. Property owner is Carla Langford. Ethan, if you will, please read your staff report.
Mr. Rob Mulchin with SEC, on behalf of the property owner, has submitted a request to rezone the entire 19.96 acre parcel located at 7391 Crowcut Road. The property is currently zoned RS40 and contains a single-family detached residence and several accessory buildings. The requested zone district of R20 is for 1 and 2 family residential district. The properties to the north, south, and west are all located within the Fairview municipal boundaries, while the properties to the east is located within Williamson County. The surrounding properties located within Fairview are all zoned R20, 1 and 2 family residential, and the properties to the east is located within Williamson County and zoned MGA 5. The 2040 Fairview Forward Plan classifies this property as new residential medium neighborhood, which lists appropriate zoning districts as RS40 and R20 with a PUD, or a new district that would permit traditional neighborhood development or conservation subdivision. The appropriate land uses are listed as single-family detached residential, single-family attached residential, limited to 2-family houses, and a mixed use of commercial and office, multifamily, residential, and civic institutional. The applicant provided the following reason for the rezoning request. The application is to rezone this property from RS40 to R20 to develop a single-family detached residential subdivision. The rezoning to R20 will allow for a single-family detached residential subdivision with minimum lot sizes of 20,000 square feet, similar to the lots being built to the west in Aiden Woods. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission provide a favorable recommendation to the Fairview Board of Commissioners to approve this request to rezone all 19.96 acres of the property located at 7391 Crowcut Road, identified as tax map 22, parcel 140, tax map 46, parcel 16.03, from the current zoning of RS40 to R20 with the following conditions of approval included in the resolution PC 1525. The rezoning request will be placed on Thursday, May 1st, Board of Commissioners meeting for consideration with the potential for the public hearing and the second reading being held at Thursday, June 5th, 2025, Board of Commissioners meeting.
Thank you, Ethan. Entertain a motion for PC 1525.
Make a motion. To approve, sorry.
Approved, thank you. Shoelist. Do I have a second?
Second.
Anderson. Do we have a representative tonight for this application? Good evening, sir. If you just state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Rob Mulchin, SEC, 850 Middle Tennessee Boulevard, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Here tonight on behalf of Ms. Langford in regards to this rezoning application, where she's just looking to make this as consistent with the zoning that already surrounds her property at R20 on that side, so that she can look forward to moving forward with a single-family detached subdivision to match Aiden Woods next door and the other developments around it. So,
Thank you, sir.
Well.
Open it up for any comments, questions from the Planning Commission. I have a question for city engineering. So I noticed on this particular site, we have a creek, which is probably a basin catch area towards Plan South, and then there's the large TVA looking power line easement. I mean, in your opinion, does that not restrict this property to, I'm guessing maybe 50% development?
I mean, without doing calculations, I couldn't determine if it'd be 50% or not, but I mean, if what you say is true, of course, it would limit development in the area. That would be something that obviously the design engineer of SEC would bring forward when we go through the process of a site plan. But at this time, I can't speak on how many lots or how much percent of the property is actually developable.
All right, thank you. Any commentary?
I do have a question.
Williams?
And just in hindsight, do developers normally change from RS 40 to 20 under the pretenses that they want to add more homes to an area? Or is it just for consistency of the surroundings?
The answer is a little bit of both. The consistency of the surrounding properties gives the feel of the area, but also R20 allows for 20,000 square foot lots, whereas RS40 allows for 40,000 square foot lots. So you can essentially get twice as many lots if you do R20 versus R40.
I agree with the consistency. I'm curious to know if any other planning commission members has an opinion. If we increase the density of this particular lot with the access coming off the curve, that's a significant amount of traffic that's going to pass through that narrow portion of the property right behind what appears to be 4 or 5 lots to the north. And then having to funnel back on the property. There can't be that many properties in this particular subdivision, but if that poses a potential concern, I'd be curious to see if anybody else shares that opinion.
Mr. Chair, definitely share that concern, as well as the concern of just, we've iterated in this same meeting several times of the intersection at Crow Cut and Highway 100. I mean, we continue to load up this corner. 4, including this one, out of the 3 subdivisions right there on the screen have been approved since I've been on the board a year ago. That's definitely a concern of mine, is just how much this area is getting loaded up with high density, medium to high density neighborhoods.
Thank you, Mr. King. And of course, we won't know if there's road improvements until the submission and traffic studies are completed.
Bree, can you put ClickShare up on the screen for just a moment? Not on the confidence monitor, but if you do take a look around behind you, there's a cul-de-sac located in Aiden Woods that does have a area where they would potentially be able to connect into an existing development that would eliminate having an entrance onto Crow Cut for this piece. So there is a possibility that that could exist.
Do
If I
we
may.
know that the distance, if that connection were to be made, would that exceed the distance requiring those lots to be sprinkled?
We don't know how many lots would be in there, but I would assume as the development got more progressed through the development phases of actually planning this, they would meet our fire code and be within the 30 homes on a single point of access.
Sir, did you have any additional commentary
Yeah,
that
I
you'd
just
like
wanted to
to?
answer a couple of your questions.
Yes, please do.
In regards to your question, yes, the TVA line and the creek and it's, with the floodplain and also the buffering from the TDEC standpoint on that side will greatly decrease the developable acreage on that property. So, yeah, I can't say off the top of my head what's the percentage on that, but it is definitely going to be significant in regards to that. So if you're thinking about this property being an RS40, being 1 unit to the acre, you're talking 20 lots. If you're talking bringing it down to R20, you're talking bringing it up to 40 lots, but reducing that by 50% roughly potentially on that side brings you back to the same net density as you had with the current RS40. They're just trying to, with the encumbrances of the TVA power line and also the creek and its buffering on that side, to at least bring the density back up to where it's actually fully developable on that side. So regards to the question, regards to the connectivity back to Crow Cut, the intention for the development on this side is to tie back to Aiden Woods on that. There is not going to be a connection back to Crow Cut based on the significance of the intersection and that curve on that side. We did not want that to happen, and nor did we, our discussions with staff want that to happen. So we have worked with the development team from Aiden Woods on that side, and the developer over there is in agreement with us going ahead and making that connection to that cul-de-sac and turning it into a knuckle, and then bringing the subdivision street through that knuckle and into this development and back up and on that side. So we're definitely not looking at making any connection back to Crow Cut directly from this development on that side.
I appreciate that input, and honestly, just to voice my opinion, I mean, the fact that we're pretty much left to the same number or similar number of lots based on developmental area, it really doesn't have a negative impact to the quantity of homes that could possibly be built, so I think that was a good explanation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other thoughts, comments? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you all.
Ms. Howe, would you please call the vote?
Ms. Schulis,
Aye.
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Mr. King,
Aye.
Ms. Williams,
No.
Ms. Schilling,
Aye.
Mr. Magner,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald,
Aye.
We're getting feedback from somewhere.
Okay.
You could just hear there.
Thank you. Item number 2, PC 1525 is approved and will go on to the Board of Commissioners for its next hearing. Moving on, item number 3, PC 16-25. This is major modification, Bowie Meadows, map 42, parcel 26, and map 43E as an echo. Group A, parcel 6, property owner, Leonard Homes of Tennessee. Mr. Ethan, would you please read your staff report?
Eric McNeely has submitted a modified master development plan for Phase 2 of the Bowie Meadows residential development. As approved, the Bowie Meadows development contains 2 phases with 44 lots in Phase 1 and 129 lots in Phase 2. The proposed modifications only occur within Phase 2 of the development, with no changes proposed within Phase 1 of Bowie Meadows. The proposed modifications are contained within Phase 2 and are primarily the removal of the proposed secondary access point onto Waynes Lane, which is located along the northern property boundary of Phase 2. The other modification is the creation of additional stormwater management areas within Phase 2. As approved, Phase 2 contains 5 stormwater management areas. The proposed modifications add 2 additional stormwater management areas. The addition of these 2 stormwater areas does require the relocation of several residential lots. A total of 5 lots are affected by the addition of the 2 stormwater areas. These 5 lots have been relocated within Phase 2 and does not increase the number of lots within the development. For substantial compliance, when our staff is reviewing this, we review it based on the existing master development plan and compare it. There was one standard that came out and why it's before you tonight. The Fairview Zoning Ordinance, Section 10203.5, sets out 8 standards to determine if a submitted site development plan or subdivision plat is in substantial compliance with the approved master development plan. As proposed, the modifications to Bowie Meadows Phase 2 satisfies 7 of the 8 standards found in Section 10. The one standard that is not satisfied is Standard 6, which is listed below. Standard 6 changes to roadway alignments or lot layouts that significantly deviate from the approved master development plan. Our determination as staff, the submitted residential development plan does not maintain the overall roadway alignments due to the removal of the previously approved access point onto Waynes Lane. All other roadway connections to Bowie Meadows Phase 1 to the east and stub streets for future connections to the west are maintained in the residential development plan. Therefore, Standard 6 is not satisfied. Based on the above stated information related to Section 10203.5, staff is of the opinion the residential development plan for Bowie Meadows Phase 2 is not in substantial compliance with the approved master development plan due to the removal of the access to Waynes Lane. Therefore, the modified master development plan must be returned to the Board of Commissioners for consideration and approval. The process that this will go through, this application will receive a recommendation from the Planning Commission tonight. It will go to the Board of Commissioners for a first hearing, and then it will go to have a public hearing at the Board of Commissioners, and then it will have a second and final reading at the Board of Commissioners. So tonight, we're providing a recommendation as a Planning Commission to them. All adjacent properties are located within the city of Fairview. The properties located to the north and east contain single-family residential land uses, while the properties to the west, is currently vacant, and the property to the south is the northern boundary of Bowie Nature Park. The property to the east is Phase 1 of Bowie Meadows development. The properties to the east are zoned RS20 Pod and R20, 1 and 2 family residential. The properties to the north are zoned RS40, single-family residential. The property to the west is zoned RSM40, single-family residential. Property to the south of Bowie Nature Park is zoned AR15A. The Fairview Forward 2040 Comprehensive Plan designates the parcel that contains Bowie Meadows Phase 2 as new residential medium. This classification notes the appropriate land uses as single-family detached residential and single-family attached residential. The classification notes the appropriate zoning districts of RS40 or R20 with a PUD. Staff recommends the Planning Commission recommends to the Board of Commissioners an approval of the major modification to the Master Development Plan for Phase 2 of the Bowie Meadows residential development as resubmitted on March 14th, 2025, with the conditions of approval included in Resolution PC 1625. The condition number 1, this rezoning request will be placed on Thursday, May 1st, Board of Commissioners meeting agenda for consideration, with the potential for the public hearing and second and final reading being held at Thursday, June 5th, 2025, Board of Commissioners meeting.
Thank you, Ethan. May I entertain a motion for PC 16-25? For conversation, I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Magner McDonald, do we have a representative tonight for this application? Sir, if you state your name and address, please.
Eric McNeely, 254 Belgian Road, Nolensville, Tennessee. Oh. Sorry. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, would you just please restate your name?
Yeah, Eric McNeely, McNeely Civil Engineering. I live at 254 Belgian Road, Nolensville, Tennessee.
Thank you very much, sir. We'll open up for, do you have any additional comments that you'd like to share with?
Just that my client is Lennar Homes, and they are the applicant for the project, and they are excited about doing this project in Fairview, Tennessee.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mayor.
Ethan, if the major modification doesn't pass, what would happen?
Tonight, our Planning Commission is providing a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners. Ultimately, this will be a Board of Commissioners decision, but tonight, the only thing that we are providing is a recommendation either for approval or for disapproval to the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, I'll restate this. So I've had many concerns about the connection to Wayne's Lane. And does that appear now, since what they're proposing is to take away that connection? Is that green space?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then the additional stormwater pond, that's to mitigate some of the stormwater from leaving this development onto other properties?
Mr. McNeely can probably provide a better summary of why there's additional stormwater from the original master development plan to the modification. If you want to walk her through that, that'd be.
Yeah, I can be more than happy to. Where I came in on the project was more a final construction plan level, and if you look at the drainage basins and the point of interest, and especially with the park adjacent to the south, we have to be cognizant of the stormwater runoff that is leaving the site, and we have to meet the Fairview Stormwater Ordinance, which is to provide detention that meets pre-development conditions. And essentially, there were certain areas at points of interest where the original master plan probably needed to have additional areas to account for stormwater management. And if you see the modification proposed, for instance, the roadway that runs south along the south property, the Parkway Drive, we have realigned that to account for a stormwater basin that wasn't previously shown. And there's several little small detention basins where lots were, they showed, there were lots shown where we need the areas to have stormwater management to ensure that we're controlling stormwater runoff from leaving the site.
So just for public knowledge, Plan South on the right-hand side, that's an additional stormwater management, Plan South. And then,
Goes directly north of that,
okay.
that little area
So
of
the
green
green,
space.
where it was green space, that's another detention pond.
I do. Bree, could you go to the next slide, please?
Yeah. Oh, great.
Can I have the pointer for a minute so that I can ask my questions? Yeah. And then I'll hand it to you. Okay. All right, so what I'm saying. Oh, that's right, because you can't see that one. Makes sense. Okay, so now you probably can't hear me, but, so what I'm saying is, okay, I saw it better on the other plan. Okay, I like the side-by-side comparison. So right here where we had green space, now we have a detention pond,
Opposite.
correct?
That's the original plan. It already had.
Okay, so we're going back, sorry, we're going backwards. Here, I'm gonna let you point. Okay, so,
Okay, so right here is Phase 1 pond. They're in these green spaces. That didn't change from the original plan. This road right here on the original plan, see how it just runs straight 50 feet off the boundary line? We realigned the road so we were able to put in a detention basin right here because there is a point of interest at the park right here. So we're able to put a pond here, and we put a pond here, and we also added a pond on this side right here.
okay, can you point out the, where it connects to, Cox Run Drive?
Right here is Cox Run. Phase 1 connects to Cox Run. With that access.
Which what would be a curve currently?
That's what, yeah, that was on the original approved master plan over here.
So you're taking out,
This
so you're,
piece.
okay, so you're taking out Wayne's Lane entrance, making it green space, putting a detention pond in and a cul-de-sac.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I just want to point that out so everyone
Thank you.
kind of sees, yeah, what's going on. And then you've got the extra detention that where it was running off into the park to catch
Here's the-
stormwater there.
Yeah, it's right here. That was
Right.
a point of focus right here. And the other one was right here. where
And
we
that
had the lot.
removes 2 lots, correct?
Well, there was 2 lots, like right here on the corner.
Yes.
So those would go away, and then these 2 up here would go away, right here.
The total number remains the
Stays the
same,
s-
it's
yes.
just
So you've just
adjusting.
moved them to different locations?
Yes, ma'am.
And that would be over, middle of the plan where it says plus 2 lots? Okay. So I guess what I'm saying is, so what was the decision, why was the decision made to remove the connection to Wayne's Lane?
Like I said, when I came in for Lenore, I was looking at more of a full set of construction plans, and if you look at the elevation difference from Wayne's Lane, and it drops substantially. It's pretty steep topo, and there's a creek with floodplain on it right here, and then it goes back up. To fit a vertical curve in, you would have a substantial, almost like a mini Natchez Trace bridge right here to get that across. I was looking at it from just constructability, safety. It's a very, there's probably 40-foot of grade differential to get from the invert of the creek up to the elevation of the road. So it was a very, in my opinion, it wasn't your safest option for roadway access, just from the sheer height of that crossing.
I've had a lot of complaints about that access point, so I'm actually glad that went away. I'm glad that you've put in the extra detention basins so that it can catch more of the stormwater. Are there plans in the future to have additional entrances into this besides the Cox Run?
No, ma'am. Other than from Fairview City Center, these 2 that tie on these ends of Fairview City Center, Phase 2.
Well, that would be additional entrance and exit.
Right.
Right.
You'll have those additional entrances and exits that connect the Fairview City Center Phase 2 development at that road point right there and that right there.
So it's not a one-way in and one-way out. When City Center is complete, it will have 2 entrance and exits off of City Center.
Correct.
Okay, I wanted to point out for the citizens that Wayne's Lane is going away. There are 2 additional entrances planned from City Center into this development and not just one way in and out on Cox Run. And then also you've added extra stormwater mitigation throughout the project to help with the stormwater.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Ulyss.
I understand what you're saying about the Wayne's Lane going away because of the topography of it just not being viable. The added detention ponds, was that also just a holistic look at the whole construction set and saying, we don't have to have these detention ponds, but we want to add them anyway?
No, ma'am. For me to put together a set of construction documents that meets the intent of the City of Fairview Stormwater Ordinance, this site needs more detention areas to handle stormwater runoff. It's when you get to a final level of detail at construction plans, you run the numbers, you start putting drainage calculations together, and I've worked real closely with the staff on the drainage and coming up with the overall drainage master plan. So this did require additional stormwater management areas.
Just to add to that, when you construct master development plans, you kind of conceptualize where stormwater might be. It doesn't always end up being in that spot. So what Eric is saying, he kind of got down to the actual construction level of detail, and he knows exactly where stormwater ponds are going to be, and so he just reflected that in the master development plan.
Sure. And traffic study, I know, is done preliminarily. Does it get redone with each phase or any changes like this?
I would have to check the resolution of the original master development plan. Ethan, I think, is nodding. So if you want to speak to that, Ethan, you can.
There was a revised traffic study that was submitted with this, the traffic impact study. It was revised February 28th, 2025 to reflect these changes. There were no recommendations to Cox Pike or to any other adjacent roads. With the improvements that are being made onto Highway 100 with City Center, those improvements were able to encompass their expected traffic flow.
Thank you.
I'll also just note, the reason that this is before you tonight is solely the modification of removing the point of ingress and egress. That is what is the driving force of it being a major modification. The additional stormwater ponds is a great discussion topic, but that is a minor modification that typically is approved by staff through our engineering process of approving construction plans. And so once, kind of as Curtis said, a master development plan is kind of a 30,000 foot view, a development plan is kind of a 10,000 foot view, and now they're at construction plans where they're deep into the details of exactly where these things need to be. And so that's where we come in and make sure that they're still meeting all of our regulations, although they may have nailed it with their master development plan of we need ponds in these exact locations. At this point, McNeely Engineering has come up with the exact locations, and so that's just showing those on here. But the major modification that is the point of discussion is the primary point of ingress and egress off of Waynes Lane.
Got it. Thank you. That's very helpful.
Mr. McDonald.
So to that point, I think if you're familiar with Waynes Lane and how it intersects with Cox Pike, it's kind of an interesting intersection. So I think an added benefit to this is that you're increasing traffic coming out of Waynes Lane onto Cox Pike there potentially is problematic down the road. So I think removing that is a plus. I think you could also logically make an argument that removing that entrance and exit from this development, forcing the domestic traffic to head more towards the southeast corner of this plan, which would be connected to City Center. Once you're at that point, it wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense to turn left and go through Cox Run to get to Cox Pike, to go to Fairview Boulevard, to go to town. If you were going to, say, Publix or Walmart or anything like that, I think logic would suggest that you would just take the new roads through City Center out to 100 that would just come out right here. So now that's just, I don't know if you said the traffic study changed, it didn't change much, so that might not be reflected, but it just seems like to me, if I lived in that area, that's logically what I would do. But so I would think the only traffic that would go to that would be like what would be going to 40 would be cutting through Cox Pike, where if you still had that Waynes Lane entrance and exit, then those houses that are closer to where that was would most likely still use that way. So I think in all, it's a benefit to the surrounding areas. And then I know it's not necessarily a part of this discussion, but water runoff on this site has been a major talking point throughout the city. So the fact that that's being adjusted and addressed, I think shows that you guys are paying attention and thinking through everything, which we appreciate.
Just something I want to clarify real quick. I mean, there is improvements suggested in the traffic impact study. Is that correct, Eric? It's just for Fairview Boulevard at Cox Pike?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it has one section of improvement, but it's kind of in conjunction with existing development, whoever does it first, essentially.
I have two quick questions and a comment. First, idea of phasing. This is probably more for our staff. Do we think the phasing of this along with phase 2 of City Center is going to time out maybe similar?
The phasing of Phase 2 of Bowie Meadows with Phase 2 of City Center? That would probably be a fantastic question. There is a representative tonight from Lennar here who owns both of these projects, and they would probably be able to answer that.
All right. Good evening, ma'am. If you just state your name and address for the record.
I'm Chelsea Russell with Lennar Homes, 6840.
Thank you. My question is just generally speaking, and I know phasing depends on construction, weather, a number of factors, but just trying to understand the benefit of having the city center project to, assume a lot of this traffic. What do you think your best guess is on phasing?
So right now, the way that our schedule is phased out is there's roughly a 60 to 90-day delay from when Phase 2 of Bowie will be on to when Fairview City Center will be fully active.
That's just a couple months, though. We're not talking about a couple years, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you very much. My second question, back to you, Mr. McNeely, and it is McNeely, correct? I said
Yes,
it
sir.
correctly, thank you. I didn't study your topography very well, and I know topography is not necessarily the subject for this conversation. However, do you feel like that retention pond on the southern section there helps with runoff, or are we pitching water off to the adjacent properties there?
No, it's definitely going to help. It'll detain, it's detaining a lot of flow in that sub-watershed. It's going to help out, and in combination with the release of this pond and the ponds that have been constructed right now, we're over-detaining the runoff to the park.
Given that street is an impervious surface, how are we capturing that runoff between the roadway and your southernmost property line?
It'll be collected in underground storm drainage pipes and piped to the detention basin.
Okay, thank you. And then I guess just this is just my comment, so I'm sharing my own personal opinions. One of my biggest pet peeves is we open a large development and we force all that traffic between two other residential properties in a very narrow fashion. This tonight solves and alleviates that concern, of my personal opinion, the fact that we are not going to be taking traffic between two other properties and squeezing that between there. So to me, quality of life on that portion of the project, I think of the existing neighbors as an improvement. And the fact that we're channeling a lot of traffic back through City Center, which is intended to be a more heavier trafficked development, to me just makes great sense. So, I personally don't see an issue with that. So I appreciate your input on that. Other thoughts, comments?
I agree with you.
Thank you, Ms. Schulis.
I agree as well.
Thank you. Other comments, questions? Thank you, sir. Ms. Howe, would you please call the vote?
Mr. Magner,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald,
Aye.
Mr. King,
Aye.
Ms. Williams, Ms. Schilling, Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Ms. Schulis.
Aye.
Item PC 1625 is approved for recommendation to the Board of Commissioners, who will have the ultimate review and vote. Next item is item number 4, PC 17-25, final plat, Bowie Meadows, Phase 1, 63.89 acres, map 43, parcel 26. Current zoning is R20 pod. Property owner, Lennar Homes of Tennessee. Mr. Greer, would you please read your staff report?
Before I get into our full staff report, knowing what we just discussed, I have the benefit of making this agenda, so I put this next. If you feel the need to add a condition of approval for a secondary point of access to be required prior to a certain amount of homes to be built, feel free to have that amendment to the PC resolution at the end. That seemed to be a point of discussion during our previous item. Alan O'Leary has submitted on behalf of Lennar Homes of Tennessee a final plat for Phase 1 of the Bowie Meadows development. Bowie Meadows Phase 1 contains 43 single-family detached residential lots on 63.89 acres. Also, Phase 1 will extend 2 public rights-of-way, Par Trace and Parkland Drive, that are being created in Phase 1 of Bowie Meadows development. Phase 1 will also create 3 new rights-of-way, 2 detention ponds, 6 open spaces, a mail kiosk, and dedicate the property for the wastewater treatment lot for the entirety of the Bowie Meadows development. The Fairview Forward 2040 Comprehensive Plan designates the parcel that contains Bowie Meadows Phase 1 as new residential medium. This classification notes the appropriate land uses as single-family detached residential. The classification notes the appropriate zoning district is RS40 or R20 with a PUD, which this is. The proposed land use of single-family detached is in alignment with the Fairview Forward Plan, and the current zoning of the property of Bowie Meadows Phase 1 is in alignment with the appropriate zoning district. Staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the final plat for Phase 1 of the Bowie Meadows development in order to create 43 single-family detached residential lots, extend 2 public rights-of-way, create 3 new public rights-of-way, create 2 detention ponds, create 6 open spaces, a mail kiosk, a wastewater treatment lot for the on-site sewer system, and install all necessary stormwater, wastewater, and water infrastructure as resubmitted on March 20th, 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Greer. We hear a motion on PC 1725. I'm sorry, that we need a first. Thank you, Ms. Schulis. Ms. Schilling, and was that a motion of approval? Thank you very much. It's a good thing we all have day jobs. Yes, and do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Do we have a representative tonight, again, for this application? Sir, if you'll state your name and address for the record.
Alan O'Leary, 2486 Nashville Highway.
Thank you, sir. Any additional commentary on the final plat here?
I'm just listening to any comments you have, and we'll address them.
Thank you very much. We'll open it up for comments, questions from the Planning Commission. I might not have caught something, but Mr. Greer, you made a comment about roadway access. I don't know that I had followed that closely when I did my original.
Just with the previous conversation about the major modification, if you felt that there was a need to require, that access point to city center prior to going beyond 30 homes or something along those lines, so that they are not accessed off of a single point of access.
As it stands right now, though, based on the number of lots, they're in compliant with our zoning ordinance, correct?
I believe that in Phase 1, they have 43 single-family lots. So our regulation states that you can have 30 homes on a single point of access.
So currently it is not in compliant with zoning.
Correct, until City Center Phase 2 has a roadway that connects Phase 1 to Phase 2. It would not be compliant if they built all 43 homes at one time. But I know that in some other developments, such as Otter Creek, we've had final plats that have conditions along the lines of no new permits can be issued unless there are X items that are constructed prior to that point, to make sure that they're in line with our rules and regulations.
Thank you, sir, for that clarification. I'd like to make a motion to have a condition of a maximum of 30 lots on this property prior to the second means of access point.
Second.
Thank you, McDonald. Any comments, questions on that condition of approval?
I think it's a fair condition, seeing how it's all the same developer. The likelihood of them building all those homes and it being an issue is probably not likely, but in the event that some delay took place to where that roadway wasn't finished, it would probably be best for the surrounding community to pause until that roadway was completed.
I agree, and I think that's why I feel strong about that condition. We're trying to be as nice as we can to the adjacent residents, and until that relief valve is in place, I think that's the best that we can do. And there's a reason why our zoning ordinance has the quantities that it has. Any other comments, questions? All right, Ms. Howe, if you'll call a vote for this conditional motion.
Mr. Wagner,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald,
Aye.
Mr. King,
Aye.
Ms. Williams,
Aye.
Ms. Schilling, Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Ms. Eulis.
Aye.
That motion for the conditional approval passes. We'll be back to the original motion on the table. Any additional commentary, questions, or comments?
Mr. Chair, I've got a question. Mr. O'Leary, I have a question for you. So I don't know the exact topography of the site running from Cox, where it ties into Cox Run Drive, going back to the plan east side of the project, but I do know at that point of Cox Run, going back towards the original Cox Run neighborhood, that's at the top of the hill, right? I just wondering, do you guys feel that it's sufficient that you have 2 curb inlets at the edge of this neighborhood to catch all the stormwater that's going to be running from the roadway down to Cox Run neighborhood?
I will reserve the engineer if I could.
I mean, I know the standard cut of the roadway has pitched from center to the edges, but I mean, to me, it seems like, especially being at the top of the hill the way it is, that a inlet in the center of the road or some sort of trench drain or something across that roadway to catch water running down into the existing neighborhood would make a little more sense.
Yeah, I hear you. I understand your concern. When I got involved with the project, Regent Homes had sold the project to Lennar, and they had, their engineer record was a really good engineer over at Anderson Delcaps, and I know they had plans approved to go to construction, and we're building it per the construction plans, and that's typically what you see on these final plats is the infrastructure that's been approved and is being put in the ground.
I just know it sounds like in the last, I mean, obviously a little farther along on this project, but the last project there was some inadequate design work.
And one thing that I've suggested to planning commissions is usually when you have the final surface course, it's not an issue. The water gets to the inlets. There's some options. One of the options we've done in the past is put in diversion, like diverters. They look like asphalt speed bumps almost that divert water and ensure they get to the inlet. Or we've set the casting at the binder elevation and shimmed them up at the final topping. There's things that we can kind of monitor if that's a concern with water bypassing those inlets. But I imagine that it's been designed to prevent water from going down Cox Run if they have the inlets at the phase line at the end of the road.
Yeah, and I just want to just bring that up because I know, like, again, it sounds like the last plan had a little bit of some design issues that had to relook at. So,
Mr. King, are you, just to clarify, you're talking about Mangrum Lane and Cox Run Drive?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
There's actually going to be 4 inlets, so not just one. It's hard to see on the plat itself, but
Okay.
those are going to be double inlets, which obviously
Okay.
helps.
Okay.
But I can check the spread calcs on that. That was approved by previous staff, but I can take a look and see what
Okay.
kind of spread is occurring there.
Okay. Thank you.
Will the city have the ability to, I know it's means and methods, but I think that was a good comment about the asphalt topping and the height of the inlets during construction. So are we as a city monitoring that? Is that something that we can enforce if it's bypassing?
You restate that, sorry.
Yes, sorry. So I assumed then that the top coat has not been applied to the roadway surface. So it's possible that it is bypassing. Does the city have the ability to go out and supersede and require that it's actually collecting like it's intended to? That's probably more just a procedural question. I don't know that that has a true legal impact on this application, but.
Are you asking for a section of the road to be final top prior to the lots being completed?
Or does at least, I think there was a number of other options that was even the applicant engineer was suggesting that.
Yeah, I would look to the applicant on this one to see if they could provide any solutions that be, approved by staff. to alleviate that issue. So I'd be open to having a conversation, either separate or during this meeting, to help with that issue.
Well, if the infrastructure's not working as intended, then yes, I think city staff can contact them and say it's not working as intended. So the infrastructure will be bonded and they have to make sure that it works before we ever accept it. So I think that's the hammer, so to speak.
Mr. Chair, and I mean, just to kind of reiterate your point, I mean, we just passed a resolution that we can't complete the neighborhood past 30 homes prior to the city center being complete. So, I mean, if that's a period of 6 months and they don't have a final top at that point, I mean, that could be a potential issue for 6 months into this neighborhood. So some sort of at least temporary measure to make sure this is working properly, I definitely think needs to be taken.
Right, and whether that's enforced by the city, we understand that there's an acknowledgement, we have a complaint from a citizen that something's happening. I think before we can approve this final plat, we just need to know that the city has the right to enforce the infrastructure is working properly.
Yeah, it's a typical, in every subdivision, the final topping doesn't occur until a percentage of the lots have been completed, right? And so you're always going to have that 1.5 to 2 inch difference between the pavement and the invert of the inlet, the top of the casting of the inlet. So it's not like it's a uncommon thing. But again, we're going to have a conversation with the applicant to determine a solution that would work.
Sounds good, thank you. Mr. King,
Legally,
did that resolve?
the developer can't have their water intruding on other people's property because it's a form of trespass. And so if that were to occur, then I think Curtis and other staff would contact the developer and ask them to take care of it and take the temporary measures. Neighbors that were affected by the water would have legal rights, as would the city. So I don't see this situation as any different really than any other project that comes before us. We've just gotten more granular here.
It's a
than we
matter of
usually do.
enforcement, essentially. Yes, sir. Okay. Mr. King, does that resolve your question?
Yeah, that's
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you.
Other thoughts, comments? Thank you, Mr. O'Leary. Ms. Howe, would you please call the vote?
Ms. Schilling? Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. Magner?
Aye.
Ms. Schulis?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
PC 1725 is approved. Moving on to item number 5, PC 18-25. This is a rezoning listed in the agenda as 0 Horn Tavern Road, map 22, parcels 143.01. Current zoning is RS40. Requested zoning district is R20. Property owner Philip Caldwell. Mr. Greer, would you please read your staff report?
Mr. Philip Caldwell has submitted a request to rezone the entire .56 acre parcel located on the east side of Horn Tavern Road and the northwest of Cade Caldwell. The property is currently zoned RS40. It is non-conforming to RS40 and is currently vacant. The rezoning request is for the entire parcel to R20. Currently, the property is zoned RS40, which requires a minimum lot size of 40,000 square feet, but the property is currently only contains 24,819 square feet. This means the property is currently not in compliance with the RS40 zone district requirements, which is the basis for the owner's request for rezoning. A rezone to R20 would bring the property into compliance with zoning regulations. The properties to the south across Horn Tavern are zoned to R20, 1 and 2 family residential. And the properties to the north, east, and west are all located within Williamson County and zoned MGA 1. The Fairview Forward 2040 Comprehensive Plan designates this property as Legacy Residential Medium, which lists the appropriate zoning district as RS40 and R20. and the appropriate land use as single-family detached residential. The requested zone district of R20 is in alignment with the legacy residential medium future land use classification. The applicant provided the following reason for the rezoning request. The lot is currently zoned to R40. The lot square footage is actually only 24,819.2 square feet, or 0.56 acres. Due to the current zoning, it is not in code compliance based on the lot's area. I would like to have the property rezoned to meet the size appropriate zoning. This would better accommodate the lot's irregular shape and setbacks, which would also affect a dwelling placement. Staff recommends the Planning Commission provide a favorable recommendation to the Fairview Board of Commissioners to approve this request to rezone the 0.56 acre parcel identified as tax map 22, parcel 143.01, located on the east side of Horn Tavern Road, from the current zoning of RS40 to R20, with the following condition. This rezoning request will be placed on the Thursday, May 1st Board of Commissioners meeting agenda for consideration, with the potential for the public hearing and second reading being held on Thursday, June 5th, 2025 at the Board of Commissioners meeting. And there is a representative tonight to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Greer. I'll entertain a motion for PC 1825.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
McDonald, Anderson. Do we have the applicant available tonight? Good evening, sir. If you just state your name and address for the record.
Philip Caldwell, 7205 Sweetbriar Lane, Fairview.
Thank you, sir. Any additional commentary you'd like to add?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. We'll open it up for any comments, questions from the Planning Commission.
Mr. Chair,
Mayor Anderson.
I just would like to say, since it's not compliant with our R40 zone, I think it only makes sense to rezone it to R20.
Thank you. I too, at first am sensitive to our periphery of our community, trying to keep it as open and less sparse as we've developed recently. However, it is part of our comprehensive plan. This seems to make sense, in my personal opinion. Any additional thoughts, comments, questions? All right. Thank you. Ms. Howe, would you please call the vote?
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Williams? Ms. Schilling? Mr. Magner?
Aye.
Ms. Schulist?
Aye.
Item PC 1825 passes for approval and will be recommended to the Board of Commissioners for their final review and approval. Next item, item number 6, PC 19-25. This is rezoning. It's listed as 0 Crowcut Road, map 18, parcel 31. Requested zoning district RS15. Property owner is Northcutt Custom Homes LLC. Mr. Greer, would you please read your staff report, sir?
Mr. Timothy Mangrum has submitted on a request to rezone the entire 28.75 acre parcel located on the west side of Crowcut Road. This parcel you saw last month and had a favorable recommendation for annexation to the Board of Commissioners. If this parcel is annexed, it will be zoned RS40 and is currently vacant. The rezoning request is for the entire parcel to be zoned RS15, residential single family. And so this request will follow the annexation request to the Board of Commissioners, so that if annexed, they'll be able to address the zoning of this property. The entire 28.75 acre parcel is located within the urban growth boundary of the city of Fairview. The property is contiguous with the municipal boundary of the city of Fairview. The property to the south is zoned MGA 5 and located within unincorporated Williamson County. The property to the north is zoned MGA 1 and located within unincorporated Williamson County. The properties to the west are zoned RS40 and MGA 5. The properties to the east are zoned MGA 5 and located in unincorporated Williamson County. The Fairview Forward 2040 Comprehensive Plan designates this property as residential high which lists appropriate zoning districts as RS5, 5,000 square foot lots, RS8, 8,000 square foot lots, RM8, 8 units per acre, RM12, 12 units per acre, and RM20, 20 units per acre. And the appropriate land use is single-family detached residential, multifamily residential, and single-family attached residential. Although the requested zone district of RS15 is not listed within the Fairview Forward 2040 Comprehensive Plan, the single-family detached use is in alignment with the 2040 Comprehensive Plan. The RS15 zone district is less dense than the Fairview Forward 2040 Comprehensive Plan suggests, thus falling more in line with the surrounding properties. The applicant provided the following reason for the rezoning request: approximately 28.75 acres that we are asking to annex into the city of Fairview with the intent to rezone to RS15 single family. This would allow for approximately 42 single-family homes for a local home builder to have lots to build on. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission provide a favorable recommendation to the Fairview Board of Commissioners to approve this request to rezone the 28.75 acre parcel identified as tax map 018, parcel 31, located on the west side of Crowcut Road from the current zoning of RS40 to RS15 with the following condition of approval. This rezoning request will be placed on the Thursday, May 1st Board of Commissioners meeting agenda for consideration with the potential for the public hearing and second and final reading being held on Thursday, June 5th, 2025 at the Board of Commissioners meeting. There is an applicant tonight to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Greer. Do we have a motion for PC 1925?
Motion to approve?
Anderson, do we have a second?
Second.
List. Mr. Mangrum, if you just state your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Tim Mangrum, 7326 Fernville Road.
Thank you very much. Anything you wish to add before we open discussion?
I don't think anything new from when we were here on the annexation. I think we discussed this coming at that time, but I'll be glad to entertain any questions.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Chair?
Mayor Anderson.
I would like to point out that this property is, what is being proposed is less dense than the 2040 plan recommends. So I like that part of it. Also, I think we're a little somewhat townhome heavy, so I like the fact that it's going to be single-family homes and just to keep a good balance going. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd second that. I appreciate it. I know, if we were to develop everything per its zone, that would be really dense. And I appreciate the fact that these are single family, and as a result, that definitely changes my opinion of this submission. So, Mr. McDonald.
I'm just going to echo that. I think when you think about the potential of that property having 20 multifamily units per acre compared to what is being suggested, it is a fantastic improvement from that.
Thoughts, comments? Ms. Shelley.
Yeah, I was just looking at it, and in the notes, it says it's a single-family attached, so I guess it's residential and.
Correct, yes.
But you were saying detached.
Yes, if I said attached, I did not mean that. I meant single family, not multifamily, which is the key here. Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
You.
Ms. Howe, would you please call the vote?
Mayor Anderson,
Aye.
Ms. Schulis,
Aye.
Mr. King,
Aye.
Ms. Williams,
Aye.
Ms. Schilling, Mr. Magner,
Aye.
Mr. McDonald.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Next item is PC 20-25, Residential Development Plan, Hatcher Heights, Map 22, Parcel 17 and 18, current zoning RS15, property owner Duke and Duke LLC. Mr. Ethan, if you please read your report.
Lewis Sloan with T Squared Engineering has submitted a development plan for Hatcher Heights residential subdivision, a single-family detached residential development. The Hatcher Heights residential subdivision contains a total of 29 single-family detached residential lots on 15.68 acres. The property is zoned RS 15, single-family residential. The residential subdivision also proposes constructing a new 50-foot public right-of-way that is named Hatcher Heights Drive. The subdivision also contains 5 open spaces totaling 2.8 acres. One space, number 1 and number 2, contain the 2 proposed detention ponds. Additionally, a cluster box will be installed within open space number 3, which is located near the subdivision entrance off Horn Tavern Road. The property to the north is located within Williamson County and is zoned MGA 1. The properties to the south and east are zoned RS 40. Property to the west is zoned RS 15 pod. All surrounding properties contain single-family residential land uses, with the properties to the west being the Pepper Tree residential subdivision. Hatcher Heights was originally approved as a development plan and then came in with construction plans that staff approved previously. There were 24 or 25 lots in that original approval. Since that point, the development has received, they have an applicant tonight to speak on this as well, but they've received concurrence letters from TDEC and USGS and FEMA about what they believed could be a wet weather conveyance or a stream, potential stream on the property. That ultimately was determined that there is no stream on the property that requires any form of buffering or anything on this property. And so with that being removed out of their plan, they were able to gain a couple additional lots. And so if you were here in 2022, you probably have seen Hatcher Heights before. This is Hatcher Heights with an additional 4 or 5 lots in here. And so just wanted to, you're not going crazy, you have seen it probably before. Staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the Hatcher Heights residential subdivision development plan in order to create 29 single-family residential lots, create 1 new public right-of-way, create 5 open spaces, create 2 stormwater ponds, and install all necessary stormwater, water, and wastewater infrastructure as resubmitted on April 10th, 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Greer. Do we have a motion on PC 2025?
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Shoelist. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. King? Do we have a representative tonight of this application? Good evening, sir. If you state your name and address for the record.
Lewis Sloan with T Square Engineering. We're at 111 Southeast Parkway Court. Really happy to answer any questions. Just as Ethan said, we received concurrence that there were no streams and just kind of tightening up the design a little bit to make the subdivision flow a little bit better and really recreate there's a pond in open space 1 that we're going to kind of recreate and make an amenity versus before we had thought it was an existing pond that nobody has claimed jurisdiction over. So we're kind of recreating it and making it a feature point versus kind of being an eyesore.
And that's right as you come into the neighborhood as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that provides a little buffer there. I'll just start off by saying I think I provide the same amount of attention and research of all of our submissions. This one took me through a long laundry list, and every one of them I checked off. I started asking myself questions, and we seemed to answer everything. I really couldn't find any issues. Not that I was trying to find an issue, but I could not find anywhere where this was in conflict with our zoning ordinances or subdivision regulations, at least from my pretty detailed investigation. So I just want to say it. And I do appreciate you reinstating and trying to apply the water feature there. I think that'll be a nicer addition to the habitants.
Chair, I do have one question. it appears that from Open Space 4 and Open Space 1, there is stormwater that's being directed towards the stormwater detention area from the Pepper Tree, in the Pepper Tree neighborhood. I mean, the existing lot looks like it already slopes that way. I just want to confirm that we're not directing more water into that detention area than already exists.
So my understanding, just based on topography and what I saw, is that the water from Open Space 4 that is being directed there it is less than what was going to that area before, and that flows towards that stormwater detention area. I don't know how that stormwater detention area was designed, but I assume that was taken into account when it was designed, taking all that off-site flow. The Wet Pond 1 and Open Space 1, it does bypass that stormwater area. There's a separate kind of swale on that Pepper Tree property that it outlets to.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Mayor Anderson.
that pond, will it have fencing around it?
Yes.
Do you know at this time what material will be used?
I couldn't speak to that.
I can answer that, I hope. Our intent, unless the planning commission wants something else, would be a four plank wooden fence, because that pond 1 will actually be a detention pond. So it'll retain water, well, it's retention.
Retention.
Retention
To
year
retain,
round,
yeah.
sorry.
Retention.
I'm tongue-tied here, but it will be fenced, and the one in the back will be fenced as well.
And how many storm drains along the street are there?
It's up to him.
I don't remember exactly how many, but I believe there's approximately 30 structures total in this subdivision. There's a handful outside of the road that we'll capture, but there's approximately 30 in the subdivision, most of them in the roadway. So I would say between 25 and 28 are probably located in the roadway to capture the stormwater in the road.
25 or 28 storm drains?
Inlets, yes. Storm drain inlets, yes, ma'am.
Okay. That's a lot. And you meet the requirement for one access in and out, so, okay.
Just under.
Just under.
Isn't that 30?
Yeah, right at 30, yes.
To kind of the shock factor of that storm drain inlets, it's to mitigate the spread. So the regulations only allow a certain amount of spread of water during the 25-year storm. And because the roads, this is a fairly flat level piece of property, the roads are only 1% to 2%. Because they're so shallowly sloped, you have to have more inlets to keep that spread down, to keep the roadway clear of water.
So that's almost one storm drain per house.
It is. There's a significant
That's-
investment on this because it's flat, unfortunately.
No, I'm saying that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Other comments, questions?
I don't necessarily have a question. I would like if you could just speak to it a little bit. I know in that area, I don't know where the rainfall that we just experienced over this last month falls as far as 25 years or not. It seemed like it was probably pushing that. I know that in that area, there was a significant amount of overflow into neighboring properties. So if you could just speak to, I guess, the system that is going to be installed on this property and how that will impact the flow from what it currently is to what it will be after designed and implemented, just to give people in that area some insight as to how that will affect them to where, or at least ease their mind that it's not going to make the situation worse.
Yes. So it's really, the drainage is split between the two ponds, the one up on the north side of the plan there, and then the Wet Pond 1. Wet Pond 1 will have extra storage to be able to take the extra water from the subdivision and slowly trickle it out to the west at a rate less than what is currently heading off of the subdivision. Same for the north. It's mitigating any improvements and actually making it a better condition and slowing that water down more. So those ponds actually hold that water back and release it at a lesser rate than currently leaves the site. So we do that with all the sites. We analyze it. We provide the calculations to staff, and they review those and confirm that we are doing an adequate job on that. So,
Thank you.
Any other comments? All right, thank you, sir. Ms. Howe, would you please call the vote?
Ms. Ulyss?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Ms. Schilling? Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Magner?
Aye.
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Last item on the new business is item number 8. If I can flip to that. PC Resolution PC 21-25, Final Plat Otter Creek Phase 3A, 7.83 acres, map 42, parcel 78. Current zoning is R20, property owner Otter Creek Holding LLC. Mr. Greer, if you will, please read for us your staff report.
SEC has submitted on behalf of Otter Creek Holdings LLC a final plat for Phase 3 of Otter Creek Springs subdivision and the re-subdivision of lots 50 and 138 of Phase 2 of Otter Creek Springs subdivision. Phase 3 of Otter Creek Springs subdivision contains 11 single-family detached residential lots on 7.83 acres. Phase 3 will also extend 2 public rights-of-way, Swindon Boulevard and Venus Drive, that have been created in Phase 2 of the subdivision. Phase 3, Section 1 will also create a single open space that encompasses 1.45 acres. The open space will also function as a public utility and drainage easement and contain a stream and stream buffer along the western boundary of the open space. The plat also contains a re-subdivision of Lot 50 and Lot 138 in Phase 2. The subdivision is proposing to abandon 1,197 square feet of Swindon Boulevard right-of-way from Lot 138 and to dedicate 596 square feet of right-of-way for Swindon Boulevard. Lot 138 is located on the west side of Swindon Boulevard, and Lot 50 is located on the east side of Swindon Boulevard. The abandoning and dedication of right-of-way is being completed to assist in the design of Swindon Boulevard in this area. The properties to the north, south, and west are zoned R20 and contain other phases of Otter Creek. Properties to the east is located within Williamson County and zoned Rural Preservation 5 and is currently vacant. Staff recommends the Planning Commission approve the final plat for Phase 3, Section 1 of Otter Creek Springs subdivision and the re-subdivision of lots 50 and 138 of Phase 2 of Otter Creek Springs subdivision in order to create 11 single-family detached residential lots, extend 2 public rights-of-way, create 1 open space, and install all necessary stormwater, water, and wastewater infrastructure. Additionally, the final plat is re-subdividing Lot 50 and 138 of Phase 2 of the Otter Creek Springs subdivision to abandon a 1,197 square foot portion of Swindon Boulevard right-of-way from Lot 138 and to dedicate a 596 square foot portion of additional right-of-way from Lot 50 for Swindon Boulevard as resubmitted on March 13th, 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Greer. Do I hear a motion for PC 2125?
Motion to approve.
McDonald, do we have a second? Second. Williams? Yes. Thank you. Do we have a representative tonight for this application? Thank you, sir. If you just restate your name and address for the record.
Rob Molson, SEC, 850 Middle Tennessee Boulevard, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Here tonight, just represent this. I think it's pretty straightforward. Final plat, moving forward with the next phase.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll open up. I do have a quick question for you. Lot 55 has the easement cutting what essentially looks like right through the middle of it. How does that impact your buildable area? for
It's
that?
a drainage easement, and it doesn't affect the building envelope where the house would sit on that side, so that's where that's been located on the back. You know, we made certain there was enough room in order to get that through there and still have a buildable envelope for a house on those
Okay,
lots.
so your typical footprint still
Yeah.
fits on that, okay.
Mhm.
And with the drainage easement, they could still build a privacy fence and breach that, is that correct? Or does that have to be maintained?
That will have to be maintained in order for the stormwater to continue to flow through there. As regards to fencing and such, you cannot put fencing across it to obstruct the flow of the water on that side, so
Okay.
yes.
All right, thank you. Any comments, questions?
I think we would ask the planning commission to add a condition, I'm sorry. Yes, a condition of approval, that all staff comments to be addressed. We have a couple comments that need to be addressed prior to the recording of the final plat, so we just ask that condition be added.
Motion to add the condition that all staff comments are addressed.
We have a second on that motion.
Second.
Williams.
Specifically, we have a comment from Fire and Life Safety about the travel distance to fire hydrants and making sure that we get one additional one added in. So, feel that we can get that added to a final plat at time of recording.
Question for Mr. Carter. Is that a fair blanket statement to just to leave it as generic of all staff comments?
No.
I didn't think so. I would think so as well. Could we?
Specific, along with what Mr. Gear said and any others.
I would agree with that. Otherwise, that could be endless, and
That's fair to the city or the applicant for that matter. So
I would agree. If you could please help us with anticipated list of conditions, I think we would like to include that, and maybe ask Mr. McDonald to restate once we understand the specific conditions of approval. Could you help us understand which outstanding items that need to be included?
Well, you're working on it. I have a question.
Okay.
Curious why that wasn't included until now.
So we have a couple items on there. They've got to put addresses on the plat, which that's pretty standard. They always get addresses after a final plat comes to you so that everything stays the same if y'all were to change something. We have on there, consider revising the easement around the septic tanks. And SEC's response was awaiting information from Water Authority of Dixon County for what they could do with their easement there. And then 3 of the comments from either Fire Marshal Sean Sullivan or Fire Chief Scott Hughes are, 1, show fire hydrants on the plat, which has been done. And then 2, there was adjust the fire hydrant to make it within 500 feet.
Of those,
Most of these are very standard items that get done just as conversation, but Curtis wanted to make sure that we had that as a condition. I believe, Mr. Mulchin, you would probably be agreeable to correcting any of those items.
Yes, I think if the plat that I'm looking at actually has addresses on it, and the fire hydrants have been relocated and shown on the plat that was submitted recently on the 17th, if I'm not mistaken, so. And the fire stuff, well, yes, we've already been in discussion with the marshal on regards to those things, so we're working through those situations on that, which of course would be a condition of those plat being recorded, would that being that resolution being taken care of with the fire marshal.
So the only outstanding question would be the septic tank easements, is that correct?
And we're already in talks with Dixon County Water Authority on that side too, so we're just waiting a response is all we're waiting for. We haven't had that come back yet.
Would that be their easement?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be a public utility placed easement.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Williams, if you'd like to rescind your second, I'll rescind my motion.
Rescind your second, so the restate.
I rescind it.
Thank
I rescind my previous motion, and what of those conditions that you just listed, there was a lot of conversation there. What is not being included that needs to be?
I personally just think it'd be better if we just had all staff comments to be addressed. You know, because you're looking at the plat that is on the screen now. He's saying he's looking at a different version, so we just want to make sure that
Are the
all
staff comments set out? Where are the staff comments set out? That's, huh?
The staff comments are on the online portal that staff and the applicant respond back and forth with. So there are 5 staff comments if you want to.
That are specifically set out, so we're not just setting them up for a standard that we're going to be adding to. I think as long as they address the staff comments that have been set out, the 5 staff comments, I think that would be an appropriate amendment as a condition.
Motion to add a condition that the applicant address the 5 staff comments that are currently reflected in IDT.
Thank you. McDonald? Thank you. Williams? Any additional questions, comments on that commentary? All right, we will vote on the condition of the 5 additional staff comments to be addressed. Ms. Howe, would you please call the vote?
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Schilling? Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Magner?
Aye.
Ms. Shulis?
Aye.
Thank you. Back to the original motion. The original motion of approval was for the final plat. Any additional comments, questions from the Planning Commission? All right, thank you. We'll move to vote. Ms. Howe?
Mr. McDonald?
Aye.
Ms. Williams?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Schilling? Mayor Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Magner?
Aye.
Ms. Shulis?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. We have no bonds or letters of credit. We'll move on to the reports for discussion, starting first with planning.
Just want to thank you all for your flexibility in scheduling this meeting. I had a slip of my brain. I knew April 8th was the meeting. That is my wife's birthday. I know that date, but I thought it was the following week, and so thank you all for being able to be flexible, and Mr. Magner for calling this meeting tonight for us to be able to have our April Planning Commission meeting. Thank you all for your due diligence in all the matters. Hopefully over the next couple months, they'd look a little bit shorter agendas. I know these last few months, we've had quite a bit of items. We're on number 21 in April, so thank you all again for your time.
Thank you, Ethan. Tom, City Manager?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you very much. City Engineering? Any comments, questions?
Yes, just wanted to state that I did send communication to Eric McNeely concerning the Cox Run Drive and Mangrum Lane intersection by the stormwater runoff from Bowie Meadows Phase 1. So just want to let you guys know that we have reached out and we're going to work on a solution.
Thank you, appreciate that. That's very, very, very timely, so. City Attorney, Mr. Carter?
No, sir, thank you.
Thank you. Last item is Planning Commission Roundtable. We'll open up first to Mr. McDonald.
I just want to extend a thank you to the applicants for your patience on waiting the extra couple weeks to get in front of us as well. I think it's best that you probably forgot this meeting over your wife's birthday, though, so that's good. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Schulist?
Nothing for me tonight.
Thank you. Mr. King?
No comments from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Williams?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Schilling?
No comments.
Thank you. Mayor Anderson?
I would just like to send my thoughts and prayers out to Fairview Officer Ray Martin and his family on the passing of his father, Jimmy Ray Martin. I attended the funeral, and I just would like to, let him know that we're all thinking about him. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have an only comment. I appreciate the developments that are being presented to be more thoughtful of our community recently. I think that's very impactful, and I think you'll continue to see favorable outcomes of the planning commissions with that approach. So thank you all, everybody. Entertain a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Mayor Anderson.